If during the webinar you have any questions, business advisory services has been designed to assist accountancy and bookkeeping firms to offer advisory services to SMEs, charities, not-for-profits, and sporting organisations. All of these organisations need to be receiving prompt, accurate financial data during the year, not just at the end of the year, but during the year, daily, weekly, monthly. That's the routine that I honestly believe accountants and bookkeepers should be assisting these people, SMEs, charities, not-for-profits, and sporting organisations to achieve. So why offer advisory services? I think I've just said it, to improve your client's business operations and to assist at the very beginning anyone that's wanting to scale up their processes to grow. Now, scaling up, I think, can mean a lot of things. You might have a client that's currently got a $500,000 turnover and they envisage going to $3 million within 2 years. That's scaling up. You may have another client, of course, that's already on $5 million and they're thinking of $15 million turnover in 2 years. That's really scaling up. And then as you go up, you'll get others. And I might already be on $20 million, thinking of going to over $100 million. That's scaling up. The key point is that whoever is undertaking scaling up needs assistance. They need to be understanding what the process is. It was interesting to read last night, not that it was good news, but the Financial Review had an article on corporate governance talking about corporation insolvency spiked to a decade high. A wave of business failures in construction, hospitality and retail has pushed up the monthly insolvencies to the highest in almost a decade, as rising borrowing costs, weaker consumer spending and a more aggressive tax office take their toll. 967 companies entered administration in February, up 40% on the previous month. 9,700 firms have gone bust in the last 12 months, the article indicated. Clayton Oots have indicated the common causes of these failures are inadequate cash flows and trading losses. She said that SMEs are being squeezed really hard on interest rates, cost of living, and profit margins. This is the reason why we are really pushing advisory services for bookkeepers and accountants to be proactively involved in, to be actively delivering, because SMEs and a lot of those other organisations are really in strife. They need accurate financial information. And the ones that are surviving, I think, need additional help so that they can move on in their business activities. Food for thought. If you've got any comments, I'd love to hear them. So let's look at what's in the packages which we've got. We start with the advisory intro package, which we had our open webinar overview a couple of days ago. That package gives an intro for bookkeeping and accountants to get involved in advisory services. Now, some bookkeeping firms are already involved. We have a number of bookkeeping firms as our members already. And I know there are lots of accounting firms around Australia that have not yet really ventured into advisory service. This product gives you the opportunity to start moving into it, to be doing more than just the cash books bank reconciliations, perhaps debtors ledger, if you're a bookkeeper, preparation of financial accounts to a certain stage. If you're an accountant, that you basically traditionally only servicing the client with an annual set of accounts and an income tax return, they need a lot more if they're going to succeed as a business operator. The starter package, which is what we're featuring today, includes everything that's in the advisory intro package, but also includes additional materials so that you can be offering commercial services. This is the top product that we have for bookkeepers and accounting firms that are a bit hesitant about getting into advisory to get started, the starter package, so that you can be there to start helping these clients to improve their business operations. So the advisory intro package enables your firm to commence to offer the 52-week of the year business enhancement system. So what is this? This is new material which we are introducing into our product packages at present, and it will be finalized in the next week or so. And what we are emphasizing is that businesses run daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. But unfortunately, I think our profession, accountants, have tended in public practice to only be thinking of the annual reports. Our business clients need a lot more assistance. Daily, there mightn't be much to do. It might just be designing a simple daily report that a clerical person in the client's office can prepare, but as your responsibility would be to make sure that person understands, they've been trained. You've talked to your client, and your client understands what this information is all about. And it might be the number of customers today, the total sales, the average sale, how did that compare yesterday? If they're able to calculate their gross profit percentage because they have a computer system that's recording that, that's great, include that. This is today's GP percentage. There might be a few other things that your client wants to know. It could be a yield if they're running a boning room in the meat industry, for argument's sake, an industry that I know a lot about because I was this chief financial officer and company secretary of the second largest meat group in Australia. So yields are very important in that industry, and I dare say they're important in a lot of other industries. So the yield, the boning room percentages might be on that report, and a few other things. Talk to your clients, find out from them what they would like to know. But weekly reports are very important, and they're embedded into the 52-week of the year business enhancement system. Why? Because if the person responsible for the operation of a business unit receives a report within 48 hours of the end of that monthly period, that weekly period, and something's gone wrong because the result doesn't look right, there's a chance to examine it and fix it in virtually real time when people can still remember what happened. Try doing that a few days after the end of a month and going back to the first week of the month. People don't remember. They don't know. It's all fogged up in the day-to-day business activities. And what you can prepare is a weekly profitability estimate. Now, I know from my own experience, the big end of town does this. In fact, I think the big end of town run their business as if it is a series of small businesses. The company I was with, we had area managers in locations all over the 3 eastern states of Australia. And they had a team, and it included an accountant or an experienced office manager, some other clerical people to assist looking after the debtors and paying the accounts and all that sort of thing. And that manager might have had responsibility for a meatworks, 20 retail butcher shops, and other activities, small goods factory, other activities. But each of them had to have prepared for them each week their profitability estimate. We called it the weekly performance report. And it also included key performance indicators, the key things that the management at the local level and also at the head office level wanted to see from each of the operations. We had over 400 of those operations in the company. Now, years later, when I found that Woolworths and Coles do exactly the same, a lot of IGA stores now do exactly the same. They have a weekly result. It helps management really fine-tune what's going on. And at the end of the month, the monthly accounts are really proving that the weekly estimates were right. That's all that my CEO wanted to know on a Wednesday each week. Now, he'd go through them and basically we'd highlighted gross profit percentage was down there or the yields were down somewhere else. And he would then be talking to the management teams at that local location. And at the end of the month, what he wanted to know was, were the weekly reports accurate? Did they reconcile back to our monthly accounts? Have we put enough estimates of the various costs? We knew a lot of the information, of course, and so would you. You know what the wages bill is. You know what the rent is. You know the sales. Electricity can be determined, and gas, all those sort of inputs can be determined because you've got meters. You can calculate the costs. If you've had a major advertising promotion for that week, get the cost of that and factor that in so that you can get an accurate estimate so that your client can see the results of the endeavours for that week. Try it out with your clients. And I think after a while, they'll really like it because they will get this weekly report card, if you like, on how performance went so that the owner can sit down. He might have 2 or 3 businesses that they're operating. So he's got 2 or 3 managers or whatever he wants to call them, people responsible for those performances, so he can sit down and have a conversation. I talked to a Woolworths general manager of a fairly big store, and he told me he had 42 departments, and he was able to sit down on a Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, and talk to his 42 section leaders individually. He said some conversations were pretty quick, a couple of minutes. They were on target. Everything was going all right. But others, he said, took a bit longer because something had gone wrong in that particular department. They had to throw out a lot of product or they did something that upset the result for the week. Please think about it. That's the 52-week of the year system, whereby we have daily information, weekly information, the monthly financial accounts. And what I omitted to say there, we've also built into this whole system that you've prepared a budget and cash flow forecast, so you're doing comparisons of the actuals back to the budgets. This is real financial information to help your clients run better businesses and to help them survive. There's too many businesses failing. There always has been in Australia. And I think it's because they were not able to access enough accounting input. So our philosophy at ESS BIZTOOLS is that SMEs need a toned down version of what happens in bigger companies so that you're the chief financial officer and you might be holding that position out for 10 or 12 of your clients or even more. Your team are supplying the accounting input. Now, the whole effect might only be it's a few hours each week, but it's the input of that so that your clients get the benefit. The output is the same sort of information that a business operating in close proximity to your client's business, but owned by a larger corporation that are probably doing something like this, your client's able to get real-time information to be able to fine-tune their performance, fix things up if they were not working properly. We believe offering this service will enable your firm to generate diversified fee income, therefore reducing your firm's reliance on income from compliance work. I'm sure everyone that's listening to this video has read or heard about what the tax commissioner had to say 18 months ago at a conference in Sydney. He forecast there were going to be significant changes within the next 3 years. Well, we're halfway to that 3-year period if you started your planning for that activity yet. What the then tax commissioner was saying was accountants and bookkeepers need to move up the scale to become a trusted advisor to clients, to offer a broader range of advisory services to help them survive in business. Now, the tax commissioner was also probably looking and saying, if we do all that, they should make greater profits, and therefore the government will get higher taxes. Okay, that's one of the activities of all this. I think most of our clients will let you worry about the taxation side of it as long as they can survive in their businesses, not join that 9,700 that I talked about before, who have gone bust in the last 12 months. So the ESS BIZTOOLS product packages, I've referred advisory intro, which we had the webinar on a couple of days ago. If you'd like to access that, let us know and we'll send it to you. It's the introductory package, primarily aimed at bookkeepers and accountants who have not previously ventured into advisory services. Then we've got today, which is the starter package, which we'll come back to. The advanced product package is basically everything that ESS BIZTOOLS has produced, all in one package. It's the complete Chief Financial Officer service without the software for the preparation of budgets, which I'll talk to about in a minute. So the advanced package includes everything that's in the starter package. So we are going up in steps. So whatever is in advisory intro then moves into starter package, and then it moves into advanced product package. But in addition to that, we've got complete corporate governance, material aimed at an SME and not-for-profits, charities and sporting organisations. Slightly different. We call it committee members' advice for them. Capital raising, we look at 3 methods of raising capital for SME companies. Chief Financial Officer services, we're broadened there, and we have the complete package that we've developed to assist you to develop and offer research and development activities. So there's a lot of information there. And then we go to our top of the chain product, the financial forecasting package, which includes everything that's included within the startup, within the advanced package, but also services for board of directors and board of advice, which is becoming more and more popular, prevalent in the Australian business community. Plus, you get access to the Plan Guru software for 10 of your clients without any extra fee having to be paid. Normally, that's only for 3 of your clients. You get training in the use of the Plan Guru software, which will help prepare the budgets, cash flow forecasts, projected balance sheets, by Paul Barnaby, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, who's a walking encyclopedia on predictive accounting. And Paul also will take you through the certified predictive accounting training process and the examination, and you and your colleagues could qualify as a certified predictive accountant, which is a trademark that's been acquired by the group of Paul Barnaby, Beyond Accounting Technologies, Plan Guru, and ESS BIZTOOLS. So let's look at the preparation for advisory delivery. Where do you start? We have a training package, which has got 13 components to take you and your colleagues through the step-by-step process, to take your team members through, of course, to look at the various aspects, because advisory services is different. We work you through that. SME needs analysis. In this package, you've got 3 versions you can choose from. There's a short one, a slightly longer one, and a very detailed one, where you can decide which one might suit your clients. What you're trying to do in the needs analysis is to be able to have a form which helps you in having some discussions with a client, to find out what is worrying the client, what wakes them up at 3 a.m, what changes would they like to see to be made. Now, some of your clients might express surprise that you're even sitting down and having this kind of discussion with them, because traditionally they might only be used to doing with you on taxation matters, or on their bookkeeping to get their bank reconciliation sorted out, or something like that. This is one way where you can be promoting to them that you have an interest in a wider range of their business affairs and that you can supply that advice. So the SME needs analysis is a very important document. You've got a library of articles that you can access. In the starter package, there's 340 articles ready for you to use on about 50 subject headings. You can badge them. You can send them to your clients. You can charge for them if you like. You don't have to pay ESS BIZTOOLS any more money. We're not a franchise. But it's all part of the system. The whole idea of the papers is that it supports your professional advice. You sit down and talk to a client on something which might be how does discretionary trusts operate. A number of accountants over the years have told me that is our best paper because it explains to someone through some diagrams of what is involved in a discretionary trust. A lot of people don't understand that. So they're there, you can use them. Each month we produce the Business Plus newsletter, which we write with about 4 to 6 brief articles, 4 A4 pages. We try to write it for different types of people, you know, those that are just starting in business, those that might be getting near, that what they're really thinking about is succession and selling their business and retiring. And then we got the great number in the middle, the people trying to put it all together to run their businesses. You can, we're using the Business Plus articles to alert them that you, if you're a subscriber to ESS BIZTOOLS, can offer them a lot more services. Hopefully it breaks the ice. The system is going to have a new client profile form, which we've just about finalised. And this will be a form to understand the client from an advisory point of view. You've already got client profile forms in your system for taxation. We're developing one which is looking at advisory. So it's going to pose some questions, especially for a new client. Do they undertake research and development type activities? They might need a prompt as to what research and development really covers. And you can press on the button and it will give you that paper, which you can give the client to go and read. But if they say, yes, they're doing that, the next question's going to prop up and say, you've got to be a company and you're currently a sole trader, so you have to get yourself incorporated. So here's some material on companies. You act as the informant for the client in telling him about these things. Your client might have told you they're an exporter. Well, there's a thing called the Export Market Development Grant. It's a great assistance. So we can show you that. Or they might have said to you that what they do is offer tours for overseas guests and they promote overseas. Well, they're also able to apply for the Export Market Development Grant. And a lot of people don't realise that. So that's what our client profile is going to prompt questions to you when you're talking to the client so that you can immediately establish this rapport with your client that you are offering a lot more services than just preparing cash books and bank reconciliations if you're the bookkeeper, or if you're an accountant and you've traditionally only been supplying an annual set of accounts and a tax return, that you're going to now help them on their day-to-day business operations. Client mentoring and coaching. I think that's very important because this is part of the education to your clients that you're doing additional services. So you've access to 4 of those modules within our system for a starter package. And client seminars. This is where you could run your own webinars or some seminars in-house if you want to. We've got all the material produced for you, the PowerPoint slides, the papers, the suggested notes on how you might go about presenting these activities. And what this does is it helps the client understand and appreciate that you do know more than just the straight taxation material. It's very important. And this is a great activity for some of your younger accountants to get them used to speaking in public, used to communicating with clients. And they also get to know the subject matter like the back of their hand. Because everyone I know who's going to make a presentation in public does a lot of work beforehand. They read it and read it and read it. They will become, hopefully, one of your champions on that particular subject. So you might have asked them to prepare and make the presentation on the introduction to research and development. Most accountants that I come across, unless they've done something like that, don't know much about research and development. This way they will learn, and then that will assist your team. A key concept that we have embraced, that was developed by an American accountant who Plain Guru introduced us to, Adam Hale, was this concept of knowing your client 1 inch wide and a mile deep. And his observation, having been an accountancy firm that was concentrating on annual accounts and tax returns before he saw the light, quote unquote, what he said, he found that once he started trying to offer advisory services to clients, he needed to know a lot more about them. Because if he's only preparing annual accounts and a tax return, he really didn't need to understand their internal controls, their processes, or even think about the problems they might be going to experience if they were bringing key material for their business in from overseas. What happens with the effect of the war in Ukraine, or the war in Israel, and other problems in the Red Sea? What happens to supply chain? How's that going to affect the budget and cash flow forecast? Because traditionally he hadn't really been involved in that. So we have developed a full package of questions, a full internal control due diligence type summary. Now you can skip over certain things so they don't apply to that client, of course. But what it will develop is a manifest within your firm of what this client looks like, so that you can make sure that you're conscious of where there might be some weaknesses in the internal control, because you're performing the de facto chief financial officer role for your client, or you actually are performing that. Depends what you contract your client. We've got proposal and quotation forms included, which will assist you with submitting the proposal to the clients. And there's business planning material, the start of the business planning process. If you want to get the full business planning, you have to upgrade your subscription to the advanced package, where everything on business planning is there. But we give you enough to get started, to have a conversation with a client, to be able to give them some material on business planning. And the predictive accounting reports. Now, these are the key components of budgeting and cash flow forecasts. Budgets for each individual operation, not all consolidated into one. Break it down into the individual components. Key driver sub-accounts. This is things for debtors, creditors, the work team, the research and development activities, capital expenditure activities, all the other things that, unfortunately, I find that if people are just using Excel to do budgets and cash flow forecasts, they tend to just put in lump figures, whereas this can be where some real money's tied up. For argument's sake, I've looked at some of the financial projections that people have prepared, that they've asked me to look at. And one of my first questions is, well, what's your current debtors days outstanding? And sometimes you can get a blank look, comes back at you. So the preparer of the budgets doesn't even know what the current figure is. Then I say, well, what have you budgeted on? Oh, I don't know. You get some funny answers. I think this is where it has to be planned in the key drivers. The current debtors days outstanding at 54 days. Or if you do up the projections and have it all coming in 30 days, I suggest there's a problem unless something dramatic has happened. If you've suddenly changed all of your customers to get the average, or to agree to get the average payment down from 54 days to 30 days at the start of the budget, which is next week. In the real world, that doesn't happen. So this is one of the reasons key drivers are a very important component. Same thing can be said for inventory. I've seen forecasts prepared where the inventory for a major retailer doesn't change from around November onwards. And I say, well, what happened to Christmas? Aren't you going to build up your stock for Christmas? And what's the payment terms? Now, I know payment terms can get negotiated, but does your client? I've seen jewellery stores have payment terms. They're not paying someone until the following Easter, which is great. But that only came about because of long-term relationships with those suppliers, normally in overseas countries. And they've agreed to the deferred payment basis. All of this needs to be thought through as you're doing budgets and cash flows if you're going to get anywhere near an accurate presentation. Same thing can be said for creditors. If you're acting for a client who for various reasons been put on strict 30-day payment terms by certain creditors, you need to make sure that in the budgets, cash flow forecasts, that's been built into it. And that's going to be monitored to make sure, because that creditor has probably got some real power, probably to cut off supply. And if that happened, what's that do to your client's business? Are they in a desperate position? Because that's the only real source of the supply that they need, or at that price they can get it at. Projected balance sheets are also a great component of this budgeting process that I think you should be working through. Because you can then be the storyteller. You can sit down and say to your client, well, based on the budgets and the cash flow forecast and what you're telling us we're going to do, this is what we project your financial position is going to be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years' time. So the client can then sit back and say, wow, that's where we'll be. Now, I must admit, all of this is fairly easy if it's undertaken using the Plan Guru software. In our starter package, you don't get, as part of the package, the Plan Guru software, but you can acquire it, subscribe to it, and we can organize that for you. It is part and parcel of the financial forecasting package that we have, but it's not there. What we have developed in the system is notes along the lines I've just been talking about, of key notes that you could think about if you're using Excel or another product to prepare your budgets and cash flow forecasts from. We're giving you all the material. Business systems. I've talked about the 52-week system. I've talked about the daily. And I've talked about the weekly reports. I got in front of myself a bit earlier. The financial accounts. I think I also mentioned these. I think it's very important that our clients are getting monthly financial accounts for every individual business unit. Some years ago, I got hired by a Queensland government department who had agreed to do some sort of support to a business client, mainly because of what they were doing and the number of people that they employed. So the brief was to do a full review of this client, because with a turnover of over $20 million, it appeared that they'd suddenly run into making losses, whereas they previously hadn't. And no one could find out. Their internal team, their external accountant, the board of directors really had no idea as to what had caused the problem. So we got hired, and the other side of the brief then was to prepare a business plan for this organisation going forward. So we went in and started looking at this business. And the first thing I asked for was the financial accounts for the previous year and the interim accounts. And they were available, but I got given one profit and loss account. Turnover at that stage was about $22–23 million for this company. And I said, well, what activities? What do you people do? I had no idea what they did. What do you people do? Do you know we ended up with about 14 separate activities? They were running trucks, they were doing farming work, they had a bit of a wholesale selling of parts and equipment business. They had all this, and they had one P&L. And it's showing that they're losing a few $100,000. So the first thing I did was sit down and talk to their bookkeeper and said, can we split this revenue up? Can we try to get some individual accounts? She said, I've been telling them that for 2 years. So she said, I've kept separate records. So she had the individual sales figures. She also had gone through and done some allocation of labour. So she knew where people were working. So anyhow, we sat down, and this all took a few weeks. We sat down and worked out, myself and my assistant, individual profit and loss type accounts for 14 business activities that were part of this group. And after that time, it became very obvious where the problem was. There was one activity that was losing a lot of money, and it was an important one. And the bookkeeper said to me, and this is the boss's favourite. And what had happened, we put it all together, was that there'd been a change in the route. There was trucks travelling around, and the route had changed because of a bridge being ruled out by the Main Roads Department. That the tear weight was below what these trucks were weighing, so they had to go hundreds of kilometres around. And this was happening every day. And this had caused significant problems. So in the blow-up, everyone blamed everyone else and said, well, I told you that. But that would have all become very obvious very quickly if they were on a system of having financial accounts for each individual business unit. So please think about it. I think you should, obviously, you'd have budget comparison. The balance sheet analysis is important. It's analysing debtors, creditors, inventory, getting those key performance indicators out, making people sit down and think about it. What is the stock turn? Is the business got huge investments in stock? What's happening in work in progress? It's one of my pet areas too when I analyse a business. I find a lot of sins are left for some time in work in progress, and as someone's thumping the table and saying, we've got to invoice everything that's work in progress. And suddenly you find there's a big lost job in there that the person responsible for it didn't want to bring it to the head. And they knew they were bringing it to the head when they finalised what their final claim was going to be. And someone was going to be looking, hopefully, at the system and saying, hey, hang on, that's a 10 grand loss that's been generated on that job. Well, how did that come about? So you need to be analysing these things regularly, because if you pump all this together and have it coming out at the end of the year or even at the end of 6 months, all those sort of little things get lost, whereas that could have been replicated. That same problem might be always in the system. Implementation of virtual chief financial officer services. A lot of what I'm referring to is what is really a CFO role. I did that in a public company. I had 13 accountants working for me around Australia, and underneath them were office managers, and we were working to this timetable, if you like, daily information to the responsible managers, weekly reports that the local individual managers got, but so did the area manager, and it all went through to head office where I was, and my team analysed it. And then on a Wednesday at lunchtime, I sat down with the CEO or had a phone conversation with him, wherever he was in the world, and went through it. I think this is what you should be doing, and this is CFO type services. The other key thing is keeping abreast of government grants. Government grants are great ways of getting money. Now, some of the additional products that you've got in this system that you can use include the professional service charge out rate calculator. So if you've watched the webinar from 2 days ago, you would have heard us talk about that. I think it's very important that we assist tradies to get their charge out rates determined based on the actual costs for their various team members, but also the expected productivity. And I get very suspicious when someone tells me they're going to get 100% productivity or 95% or even 90%. I don't think it works. So you need to have some debates and then monitor the productivity daily, weekly. Because if the budget's been done at 85% for a specific type of trade person and they're only coming in at 70%, it means the charge out rate will be wrong. So you need to look at it. Professional service firms can have the same sort of approach to charge out rates as we have for tradies. The big difference in our package for tradies is we build in the ability for them to mark up the external purchases they make on behalf of the client. So that's two great products you've got. Another big problem area is retailers, and I read out before this comment about from corporate insolvencies. Retailers, there were can't find it now. Hospitality industry was up 1,450. I just thought I had the figure there. I can't find it. But a lot of the problems are in retail. I think a lot of the issues retailers have got is that they buy stock that's all got different markups and quantities. They know they can't sell it all. The stock can be classified stars, which is something they're going to sell a lot of, and they can get a high markup. But then they've got cash cows, which are products they can't get much markup on, but they sell a lot of it because people want it. It can be milk, newspapers, bread, those types of products. People come into corner stores to buy that. And everyone's got it. They've always got cash cows. Then you got the problem lines, which might have been last year's fashions. Maybe the ladies were all wearing yellow last year, and this year it's going to be light blue or whatever. If your client's got a store full of yellow clothing, they're going to have great trouble selling it this year. Everyone's now wanting the fashion's gone to light blue or whatever. Maybe it's pink, because pink is the big entertainers in Australia at present. Finishing in town till this weekend, actually. What does all that mean? And then you've got the disaster line, something that someone shouldn't have bought. It's in the system. There's virtually no markup on it, and no one wants it. The quicker they can get rid of that, the better, I think. So we have a system which will help take you through. There's some manipulations at the end to get a pat to be able to sit down with the managers and say, now, okay, if 30% of your sales were the stars and 25% of the cash cows and 15% something else, and I've lost count of the numbers, and you put all that together and you're able to generally mark them up these ways, this will be the result. And what it's all over is trying to achieve the targeted profit. We have a similar system for the manufacturers' charge out rates, which is similar to the tradies. It's just a bit more key performance indicator information. I mentioned to you government grants, that one of the biggest ones is research and development. We have got a lot of material on research and development, and it is complicated, but accountants can work the system. And a lot of our SME clients are involved in undertaking research and development. I think you should have a good look at this. In this package, the starter package, we take you through to the company's board of directors approving that the company is going to be involved in a research and development project. When we go into the advanced package, we take you right through to the preparation of the annual return on research and development, which has to be lodged with Oz Industry by the 30th of April. So we haven't got much time left. If you've got a financial year that ended on the 30th of June 2023, and your client, obviously operating a company, spent more than $20,000 on research and development activities, they need to lodge their return with Oz Industry by the 30th of April. Now, they could have lodged it months ago, and that's great. And in fact, a lot of companies want to do that quickly. Why do they want to do it quickly? because if their turnover is under $20 million and they're trading at a loss, they can basically get the research and development rebate amount, which is 43% of their R&D expenditure paid to them, straight into the company's bank account within 30 days of the company's tax return being lodged, subject to the company having tax losses which exceed that 43% of the research and development expenditure. So some clients will be lining up early July trying to get their financial accounts prepared so that this process can roll into place. If you haven't been involved in research and development, you might be very surprised at the amount of payments that go through there. Export Market Development Grant, I talked about that before, it's great. And the new one is the Industry Growth Program Grant. Now, it is restricted to areas that, or activities that the government has declared. There's about a dozen different industries, but it covers a lot of businesses. So you should look at it because a lot of your tradie clients might be able to apply for that. Within the system, we've got supplementary summaries. This is the notes that I've prepared on Section 708 of the Corporations Act. This is where a company can raise up to $2 million in a year from 20 investors. The early stage innovation company can raise capital, also up to $2 million in a year, and crowdsource funding equity raising, which a company can raise up to $5 million in 12 months from. There's all rules and regulations on each of those three components of capital raising. They're very important for SMEs, and I think every accountant should know about them. And I think it's very advisable that any bookkeeper who's wanting to offer advisory services also has a working understanding of how they work, so that you can have that conversation with a client. They can see that you're interested, you're able to communicate with them and help them. Because a lot of them will be very nervous about this. They've never been there before. Business activities. We've got a complete summary of buying a business, checklists, forms, due diligence, review forms, whereby you can share some of your client. You can show the client you're going to use some of that to undertake the reviews yourself, charge a fee. Selling a business. Again, checklists, summaries, articles, discussion points that you can communicate with your clients. Working capital. The key component of working capital is debtors, and debtors is a mess. A few years ago, Australia got awarded a very dubious world title. We had the highest debtors days outstanding in the world. I don't think it's come down much since then. So we have written a system to help for you to communicate with your clients and to give them a systems manual, get a systems manual to help the, I call him or her, the poor person it's responsible for debtors in a client's business. Help them out. And we also, within the system, have cash conversion cycles for various types of businesses, whether it's professional firms, engineering firms, retail shops, so that your client understands the time it takes from when they start, they're paying wages for someone to work. So it's either weekly or fortnightly, those wages will be getting paid. So there's some cash outlay. They're buying stock, but then it sits in their factory for 110 days, and then it gets finally manufactured, then it goes into final stock, then it goes into debtors. Some people can have money tied up on, when you track it through the cycle, might be going for 250, 300 days. Helps them understand where their money is. Corporate governance. This is a very important area because a lot of your clients, especially the ones who are running companies, are directors. I've found over the years that a lot of them do not understand their duties and responsibilities. The federal government hired me about 7 years ago to undertake directors' duties and responsibilities training throughout regional Queensland. And that was a great eye-opener to me. So we've developed that material that I wrote at that stage into a product that's incorporated within the starter package. And at the same time, we were asked in all those towns we went to do a bit of after-hours work with charities, not-for-profits and sporting organisations. And we call that the committee members' duties and responsibilities. That's all been incorporated within the starter package to help you give that sort of advice. We've also written material relationship with banks, and some of this is to do with the charities and not-for-profits, etc., because there's a problem every year of office bearers changing the bank signatories, changing the addresses and all that. So we've got some notes on that to help you. And the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. Well, there's a few things there that everyone running a company needs to be aware of. And that's all incorporated within the system. We also have a business valuation workshop. And this is, we have a product which we call Survival in Difficult Times. Now, somewhere in Australia every year, there are real difficult times. It can be because of major businesses close down, or it can be because of seasonal weather conditions, cyclones, floods. We've had a lot of them, haven't we? So we have a package there which will help you work through with your client. And we also have a sub-paper that goes with that is how well do you know your client? I think that should be prime reading. And then we got key performance indicators and business metrics. And we've got 4 industries at this stage, and we are going to add to that this year. Commercial building industry, clothing retail, pharmacies, road transport, so that each month you can add the figures, so you can compare them, the various KPIs, the gross profit percentages, or the number of quotes sent, and what response rate you got, what percentage is that? Key information that businesses need. So your membership subscription, if you're interested in taking up our offer to join us for the starter package, and we have a special arrangement, discount arrangement that runs to the 7th of May, 12 months upfront subscription. You get everything I've talked about together with a group training package, which I'll refer to in a moment, of $1,800 plus GST, 1,980. That's an upfront payment, or you can pay it in 12 monthly payments, including GST of $198 a month. If you're interested in the advanced package, the subscription including GST for upfront goes to $5,940, or you can pay it in 12 monthly payments of $594. Or if you're interested in the financial forecasting, that includes the Plan Guru software and the Plan Guru software training, and some additional directors' board of advice material from ESS. Your subscription upfront, including GST, is $10,560, or if you want to pay monthly, you can do so, $1,056 per month. Oh, and the advisory intro package, which is our first package. If you wish to get started with that package, and that's a great way to get started, the 12 months upfront, including GST, $990, or you can pay at $99 per month. Now, the group training package, we're reorganising that, and from 1 May this year, we're going to be offering for each of those 4 packages 10 training sessions of 1 hour throughout the year, so 10 times. And if you see a training package that we've promoted in our members area on the website, if you were subscribing to the starter package like today, and you saw something that's been advertised as part of the advanced group, you can go to that. You just book. So it's open to any of our members can go to any of the training packages. We will be publishing a program and advising what the key subject is for that particular program. Every so often we're going to have some members' choice, so we'll be asking our members to tell us what you would like to get. But if you want to have some one-on-one training whereby we run a webinar session for your team, you can do that. The cost is $300 per hour plus GST, and you will coordinate that with us. So if you're interested in subscribing for our product, please go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. Click on packages and pricing, and then pick which of the product packages you want. Just click on that, and then complete the subscription information. And we will then be in contact with you, and we will get you underway to really start using this material to deliver advisory services to your clients. Now, we really didn't leave any time for questions in this session, but we have a Q&A session tomorrow, Friday the 22nd of March at 11 a.m. AEST. So you can go onto our website and click on webinars, and you'll be able to complete the registration for that webinar. So thank you very much. If you need any more information, please contact us, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or give me a telephone call, 1800 232 088. I look forward to working with you on the implementation of advisory services, which will allow you and your colleagues in your firm to deliver, and that's an important word, deliver advisory services to your clients, whether you're acting as a bookkeeper or as an accountant. It's exciting times. Businesses need assistance. Some of our SME businesses are really performing well. Unfortunately, we have a significant number who are not. They need our assistance. Stay safe. Have a great day. Goodbye. And I do look forward to hearing from you. Cheers.